Well, morning, Mr. French. Afternoon, actually.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the Works of Man. Today, we will be interviewing Mr. French, the math teacher, his first year at OHS, going through his life, his philosophy on different aspects of his life, and hopefully to humanize him.
Good luck.
Let us do this. So how do you describe your childhood overall? What words come to mind?
Okay. Small town. My parents were both teachers. My childhood was pretty... Yeah, I was raised by teachers. And so education in school was a big part of my life. I always had a parent that was at whatever school I was attending. And I guess summers off would also be something that comes to mind. Like with all my parents being teachers and all their friends being teachers, I was able to do traveling and whatnot. I was able to travel during the summers. Mm-hmm. I was always able to have like some good quality time with my folks.
That's good.
So yeah, my childhood it was weird because like I thought that was the norm.
Oh yeah.
Too. I thought like when I was growing up, I thought everyone's parents were teachers because I was just surrounded by them. But not the case. Like
That's true.
I think when I was like around middle school, I started realizing that all my friends, like their parents did other things. And I was like, what do you mean they do other things? They don't have their summers off?
Actually, my dad, he had summers off too, just because he did his painting and now he's a chiropractor, so he kind of take off our days he wants.
Yeah.
It was very nice.
It was really nice.
Did you ever go camping?
We would go, not a lot. I think we did like maybe 2 big camping trips, and that was a big deal because I think my dad was more excited about it. But I think there was certainly some sort of deal with my mom being like, hey, we can go to like Glacier National Park, but then that's pretty much it. So like when I was a kid, we didn't do much camping. I think we went to Glacier once, and that's pretty much it as a family. I do more camping now. Yeah. But not a lot of camping.
What was it, the main trips?
Main trips were like, so my mom, both my parents, they like to travel. So the main trips, I don't know, we'd go to like Hawaii was like the go-to. So I got to go when I was pretty little to Hawaii. And Arizona was another trip. My grandpa lived in Arizona, so we went down to go see him. One year we went to Norway for like 2 months, and I was 6 years old.
So, yeah, a bit young.
Yeah, I was too young to...
Yeah, you can enjoy the country people.
Yeah, I was too young to appreciate it, and, only thing I cared about at 6 was getting candy.
Yeah, I remember that.
They didn't have my type of candy that I liked. Looking back, I didn't enjoy it. I don't know. I wish I could have gone back. We actually had plans to go back over there before COVID, which we were pretty excited about. But yeah, the Norway trip was a big one, and then I never went back. My sister and my mom did, but yeah. Right. So traveling during the summers, airplane travel mostly, not a lot of camping.
What was the name of the city you're born?
City I was born. I was born in Seattle.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And where you grew up?
I grew up in Paulsbo, Washington.
Paulsbo, Washington. Where is that in relation to the?
Yeah, so it's on the Kitsap Peninsula. If you've ever been to like Bainbridge Island, or it's across the bridge there. It's near. We typically say like it's kind of near Bremerton, but it's not. It's about 20 minutes away from Bremerton. Yeah. But that's kind of a nice little spot. It's a small little town. When I was there, it was about population 5,000, 6,000. I think now it's grown a lot. It's like population 11,000, so it's doubled in size. But I was raised there the entire time.
Yeah, I think that small town or the general geography and weather and the culture of that city affected you in your development.
it made me like, I don't know, how did it affect me? It was I don't know how it affected me. I guess I never saw myself working in a place like Seattle. Like that's not something I'm interested in doing at all. I never have been interested in working in like the big city. So, but then when I went to Bellingham, that's a bit of a more populous place. So Olympia was a perfect little mix between getting that
half and half,
a little bit of city life, but also it's not the biggest town ever. And so, it made me not want to be in a big city. I did like that small town vibe ish. But I also kind of wanted something a little bit more. So it was able to pick my town accordingly.
That's nice.
Yeah.
But so you mentioned that most of your friends there, most of your family's friends, they were all teachers and whatnot.
Yeah.
So they always had the summers off. So were they always like mingle in summers, do many events together?
Yeah. A lot of boating. My dad, he likes to do like water sports and stuff like that. So my grandpa also he had some property in Shelton on the water, and we'd go boating out there, do water sports and whatnot, and we'd go on trips with some folks. Usually it was typically kind of the same set family, but just having the little get-togethers, barbecues and stuff like that were pretty common, and everyone kind of had kids too, so I was able to some of my friends socialize with a lot of my friends' parents were teachers kind of in the beginning, but barbecues during the summer and just kind of like weekend hangouts too. So since all my parents' friends were teachers, they had the weekends off and like the kind of those breaks, so having a lot of folks over for dinner.
Which of their friends do you remember most? Like, who taught you something that you still remember?
Now, the friends that I remember most, or who taught me the most?
Well, both.
The family friend I remember the most, his name's Jay Devries. Mr. Devries. He's
Mr. Devries,
shout out to Mr. Devries if you see this. He's great. We're good friends. He was probably in his 20s when I met him. He was like starting his teaching career. And so he was kind of like a second dad to me. And he's still teaching. He's at Paulsville Middle School, but he's a character. He was also my tennis coach later on in high school and whatnot. So, ask anybody. He's a character.
How do you describe Mr. Devries?
He's a character. He's just very, I don't know. He's like as a teacher, he can be pretty stern. As a family friend, he could be just kind of off the wall a little bit, but he kind of has this persona about him that everybody knows. But he's a big teddy bear when it comes down to it, and you don't get to see that point of him very often. Only like in kind of big moments you get to see that side of him. So like when I graduated high school, or like when my senior year on the tennis team, he was also, he helped out in my wedding as well, and just kind of like he was just kind of around, and So those big moments, he's a big old teddy bear, but he doesn't put that
forward.
Yeah, he doesn't put that forward. You got to find that one. Yeah, but he's a fun character. I've known him all my life.
That's nice. So let's see, who has taught you the most besides Mr. Devries?
My dad and my mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what has your dad taught you first? What your mom has taught you? Like, how has it differed?
Yeah. So my dad has taught me to do what you love. That's and that was a piece of advice that his father told him. So his father was like a mechanic.
Yeah.
He had a lot of different jobs. He was a mechanic. He was in the Navy. He worked. He was a city bus driver as well. But a story that my dad would tell me was that, my dad was trying to figure out what to do, and my grandpa would say he's a very simple man. My grandfather would say that. Yeah. My dad kind of says like, "Hey, I'm a pretty simple guy. Like, do what you love to do."
Yeah.
Like, I don't get why you would do something that you complain about every day.
Makes sense.
You might as well do what you love to do. So that was like one big thing that when I think of my dad and I think of like the lessons he's taught me, like, do what you love to do. Okay, I can follow that instruction. That's pretty easy. My mom is she's dealt with a lot of hardship in her life, and the way that she's able to handle it with so much power and confidence is really inspiring. Her mom passed away when she was like 18.
Oh, wow.
And so I never met my grandmother on that side, but she's also a teacher, and she's just, yeah, like, and I've talked to her about it, not a lot. She kind of has that she kind of puts up, not a wall, but she protects herself kind of emotionally sometimes. So, but knowing what she's gone through and kind of the hardships that she's been through and how she's able to carry herself through it and become an amazing teacher. It's her last year teaching this year, but yeah, she's taught me persistence and, I have a tremendous amount of respect for my mother.
So your father taught you what journey to take, the journey of what you love, and your mother taught you how to carry yourself on that journey.
That's a really elegant way to summarize that. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are very good lessons. How to act as you're walking, and where to walk to. Both very important parts.
Yeah, pick the trail. That's another thing is my grandfather on my dad's side would say he thought of life as like a trail, right? Mm-hmm. So, and yeah, I don't know. I keep thinking about that a lot. He passed away 2 years ago, but yeah, thinking of life as a trail, making sure that you're present as much as you can, and respect your kind of respect the beauty around you, and like really take it in. But everyone has their own trail that they're following. Sometimes you meet somebody that's on the similar path as you, mm-hmm. and you might walk together for a bit, and maybe they find another trail that they kind of go off on, but you just keep walking your trail and keep following that journey. But, making sure that you had the mindset or the steadfast to keep going is certainly what my mother taught me. My dad taught me to keep walking. My mom kind of taught me like mentally to,
be strong and fortuitous.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Be strong, and, you can't let, if you sprain your ankle on that quote trail,
don't walk the rest of it. You gotta rebuild.
Yeah, you can rebuild. Yeah, you can rebuild and keep walking.
So
hiking.
How would you say that you acted with your friends? What was your relationship towards your friends? How did you behave around them versus other times?
Oh, when I'm a friend, when I'm with my friends, I'm a goofball. Mm-hmm. Like to be a goofball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah. Absurdity. I love absurd humor, and no, we're just a bunch of goofballs. We give each other, it's really in a friend setting we can, we crack jokes at each other a lot. We're all the punchline of each other's jokes. Yeah. So, we absurdity and just really making fun of each other because we respect each other enough to be able to do that. And I'm still friends with a lot of, the main friends I had in high school. I'm still friends with them today, which has really been nice.
What's the main memory you have of each of them? Say the top 3 or 4?
Gosh, I don't know. My 2 best friends in high school and now are twins, the Johnstones. Yeah, and I went to college. I roomed with one of them for all 5 years of college. His name's Cole, and he was my best man at my wedding. And we have a lot of memories. I can't just pick one, but he's just really loyal. He's a loyal friend. Every time I talk to him, it's like no time has passed. My other buddy, Sean, the other twin, he went to UW and studied computer science. And it's tough because when I think of memories with them, I think of my typical memory is us at taco time in high school, trying to figure out how we can buy a 1976 Corvette Stingray as we're eating our crisp bean burritos and drinking our Dr. Peppers.
Well, it is productive. It's a very good thing about, vehicles, assets, I guess.
Thinking about how we could buy this car and not really, just coming up with goofy ideas. That's one core memory I have with them.
Is it the vein of buying a mansion and buying all your friends to help pay for the mortgage?
Yeah.
So that.
I think that was one big one. And then I have a few other friends I keep in contact with. Met a guy at Western. His name's Jeff. He worked for Amazon for a bit, and I can't just pick one memory with them.
You can just choose a few.
Yeah.
It's a random one. What best signifies your relationship with them in one moment? One could say ideal.
Gosh, that's a big. I don't want to give you a lot of dead air.
No, that's fine.
But
think as much as you need.
I can't think of specifics, but generally I could tell you that the people that I surround myself with, like I expect to stick around with them for a long time. And I tend to choose people who I can just call up on the phone and like no time has passed. Like I probably haven't talked to those guys that I just told you for like a month, like maybe a text here or there, but like I haven't talked with them or seen them for over like maybe a month or two. Yeah. But I know that if I were to go visit them in Seattle, they aren't even that far away, that it'd just be like, no time has passed. Yeah. We can start playing Mario. We can start playing some Mario Golf.
Give me that Corvette.
Yeah, and get that Corvette. Gosh, that's the last thing that they need. One of them bought a really trash van, and he's got, if he sees this, bought a really terrible van, but he like souped it up and made it like a camping van type of thing. Yeah. It's really impressive.
So like an RV kind of?
Yeah, like a traveling van, like really, Spacious, put a bunch of, he like put flooring in and bedding and stuff. Like it was like a passion project for him. But yeah, so I surround myself with folks that I can just pick up a conversation like no time has passed.
Was the van similar to the kind of van, like the old white minivan?
Yeah, it was like one of those.
Like the thing that pops out, so you have like an extra bed on top.
There's no pop out. Okay. It was just like one of those old, like dirty vans that you kind of imagine, like this white van, some like kind of tinted windows on the sides, but he painted this like glitter blue. So I don't know. This is dating myself, but yeah, this is dating myself. But if you ever watched Pimp My Ride with on MTV,
I heard of it.
It's kind of like that. He kind of did a version of that. It's a silly show, but yeah, I think I rode in it when he first got it. I rode in it, and I was very scared. There was like no seatbelts, there was no airbags. It was just this hunk of metal. But no, he's doing pretty good. What's that?
Because that's the pure essence of driving.
Yeah,
with the will and whim, the physics, and the driver.
Yeah.
Okay. Who would you say, or a few, besides Mr. Devries, right?
Devries. Yeah.
Was like the best teacher you've had?
Oh man. So I can think of teachers in high school that were good, but like I wasn't very engaged in my high school. Oh, yeah. I was just kind of there. I didn't really know where I fit in. Mm-hmm. So I kind of just did my work, and I didn't have a lot of passions. Oh, yeah. So I was still trying to figure out a lot of things. So anywho, what I'm saying is like there really wasn't a teacher that I clicked with a lot. So I'm trying to, at least in high school, there wasn't a lot of teachers I connected with. I mean, besides my dad, I had my dad for 9th grade English.
That was fun.
That was pretty fun. But in college, I had a lot of inspirational professors that taught me like what I was capable of doing.
How?
What's that?
How'd they do that?
By pushing me, by, I guess, expecting a lot of me and keeping the stakes high, which I appreciated. I also, they pushed me. They knew I could do better. They were personable. I could talk to them like we're talking right now. Yeah. It wasn't like you need to respect me and whatnot. Like they saw me as an equal, or maybe not like an equal, but I could tell that they respected me.
Yeah.
So I was never, I'd be like intimidated to go talk to them the first time, but once the conversation started, I could talk to them like,
really?
Yeah, I could really just start talking about mathematics with them or my English paper I needed help on. But a lot of professors in college meant a lot to me.
Can you give an example?
Yeah. Jerry Johnson is he's retired now, but he was a math professor, like a high school math professor. So but he was just passionate about what he did, knowledgeable about what he did, and was always willing to listen. His lessons were super cool. Like, it seemed like he would just come in off the fly. Like, he didn't have any lesson plans. He'd just come in and start talking about really cool stuff. He taught like a history of math course that was fascinating. He taught this, it's called Non-Euclidean Geometry. Essentially, have you heard of Non-Euclidean Geometry?
I have. I heard the definition, though.
Yeah, so pretty much the geometry that we learn in high school is the geometry of a flat surface like this desk, right?
Yeah.
So geometry isn't just on flat surfaces. It can be on any surface. There's the geometry of a sphere. There's the geometry of like this, like our line's infinite on this thing. No, and they're like super wavy. There's the geometry of toilet paper roll, right? Like what is a line on a sphere? What is a line on any type of surface? Anywho, so that was a really fascinating class. But just the way he was able to engage us with really unique stories and unique problems was just really fun. He was always prepared for something, and he was very knowledgeable. And I grew a nice connection with him, and taught me a lot of stuff and like what I was capable of doing. So I think about him a lot.
Would you say that teachers push people enough nowadays? Are expectations low enough so that people can kind of like get a challenge, overcome it, or maybe not, but never understand what they're truly capable of? Yeah. And then been put through the fire.
Yeah. So
steel.
So the question again is like, do teachers push students enough now?
Yeah.
It depends on a lot of things. Like I'm not just gonna say a blanket statement and be like yes or no.
Yeah.
It's a very complicated question of like, how much do we need to?
Person.
What's that?
That would be like a case by case basis. I feel
it should be on a case. I feel like the safest answer here is that it's a case by case situation, and like who's deciding what it means to push a student, right? Like who decides that? Who says that this amount of pushing is meaningful to the student? Is it the teacher saying that this is what's expected, or like should we also consider the student's perspective as well, being like, hey, this is how much I need to get pushed. I get afraid of things of like
absolutes.
I get afraid of absolutes, but then also especially with like, well, the kids these days, they just aren't pushed hard enough. It's like, yeah, well, according to you, right? Whoever said that, but just because you have those values does not imply that other folks might have different values. So I fear blanket statements. I try to push my students as much as I can. And then, I do believe in giving opportunities to, keep the learning process open. Some folks say that that's not pushing them enough, but I'll say that like no kid really wants to take a reassessment.
That's true.
Like, so
why would you want to?
Yeah, nobody like truly like goes out to like do that. Anyway, but yeah, it's a case by case. It's a complicated issue, and I don't know. I always, if somebody tells me they have an answer to that question, are we pushing students hard enough? And they say yes or no. Like if they give me a definite, I become skeptical immediately. Yeah.
The Jovian or Augustinian stance of prudence, one could say.
Augustine stance?
Augustinian. Yeah.
Teach me what you mean.
So I was reading a book and whatnot. The author was talking about the Augustinian stance about Job, kind of. And with Job is that, maybe the audience, it would be God sends wrath basically upon an innocent man, one could say. There's a reference to philosophy. I like philosophy. So do you want me to continue or not?
That's okay.
Okay.
I get pretty nervous when...
Yeah, religion and politics, yeah.
Yeah, God is kind of a trigger word for me, especially like just in my position, I get nervous.
It makes sense. I was doing that as one with the philosophical tradition of the West and whatnot.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, the book was very, very interesting.
Cool. A lot of mathematicians were philosophers.
Yeah.
And a lot of philosophers are mathematicians. There's a quote that's, every good mathematician is at least half philosopher. Every good philosopher is at least half mathematician. Yeah. So,
yeah. You need some basis for your ideas, one can say, and you need your reason to have an output.
Yeah, you need like and we could talk about this, but like, yeah, you need what is it? You need the structure of logic, right? but there is that creativity. Like there are the questions, the big questions that you can get creative with, and it's very similar approach to mathematics. It does have structure, but you can still create beautiful things in it. Anywho, let's keep going.
I just say that kind of similar to the notion that mathematics would be the order, and then the chaos would be the human mind or philosophy, and then about if it's just one, it kind of falls apart.
Yeah, so I would agree that like the mind does make things a little bit more chaotic, for sure. Like, it's easy to overcomplicate things, and the mathematics is it's the structure. It's the structure of something. I don't know. Like, yeah, those are big questions. It helps us. It helps us explain our reality. It's a language that helps explain our reality for sure. But yeah, it gets messy pretty quick. I don't know if that's on par of what you were saying, but
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
That definitely is an accurate response. Now let's get into your love of horror.
Let's do it.
Okay, so would you say you had this love of horror in your youth as well, or developed much in your college days? Or
sorry, just coming up. I'm eating a cookie.
That's fine.
Rule number 1: don't eat on a podcast.
Well, it's tasty.
So, give me a second. Yeah, I was scared of scary movies. So, I hated them. I hated them when I was little, and didn't like them too much in elementary. Like when I was little, I didn't like them. Middle school, didn't like them. Probably like in high school when I would go see movies with those twins, the Johnstones. Yeah. We would go and I'd start dipping my toes in a little bit, but yeah, I think college really opened me up to horror. I don't know. Eventually, I just hit that point of this is fake. This isn't real.
Yeah.
And I learned how to enjoy the fear because I still get scared in them.
Yeah.
I studied a little bit of film in college. I studied film. I attempted a minor in film, but I couldn't do it. It was too much of a time constraint. But I took a few film classes, like an intro to film study, and I did take a advanced film study class, and I just started to appreciate it as an art form. And I respected that a two-dimensional image can elicit a physical reaction in me. And I just find that really fascinating.
It really is odd.
When my heart starts going to this moving picture in front of me, I know that I'm not at threat. Nothing about this can harm me. But still, it elicits some sort of like animalistic something inside of me. And
fear,
like I can...
Anger.
Say it again?
Fear or anger or any other emotion, kind of.
Yeah, I love the power of film to draw out emotions.
Community?
And so I encourage myself to like be involved with the emotions that are shown. And for some reason, I have a much. It's more fun for me to go straight to horror because comedies are
The service.
I mean, comedies, it's kind of hit or miss, and like romantic stuff, it's like hit or miss. Like I love crying for a nice drama, but also it's a big downer, Yeah,
it is.
But with horror, like even if you see a bad horror, it's still pretty entertaining stuff.
True.
Especially if you can disassociate and say like, who made that choice? Like why?
Yeah.
who wrote that
Become
line?
the critic.
Yeah, so you can become a critic, and I enjoy the kind of disassociating myself from from the image and thinking about these were choices that people made to do. And that's how I'm able to kind of handle the fear. But I also, if I do become scared, I'm able to step back for a second and be like, hey, this is why you enjoy this. This is pretty fun. They'll probably do the same trope as usual. But it's always nice to see a horror that breaks the rules of horror. You really respect them a lot.
Can you give me one?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't want to give any recommendations to but I'd say the two that I really enjoyed were Hereditary and Midsommar. Were just unlike anything I've seen. It's by the same director, back-to-back years. So he really got those out of his system, but pretty shocking stuff. And but once again, I appreciate them a lot because I was so shocked. I'd seen like nothing I've ever seen in storytelling. I still haven't gone back to rewatch those. I don't think I plan on rewatching those anytime soon because I was truly terrified.
Why do you think that is? Did they strike home personally?
No, but it was like beyond the horror. Like that director, a theme of those two films is like just grief and tragedy. And so there was some pretty emotional stuff that happened in that film that I just don't want to see again. It wasn't the horror piece. It was just really sad sequences that was like, oh man. Like, so he likes to play around with like adding grief to the
horror.
Yeah, grief, like
grief as like a
it's just a
force.
Theme that he uses. Like, how do these characters, not only are they dealing with this crazy situation, but they also have to deal with like a real big tragedy in their life as well, which was a fun take. And his filmmaking was just beautiful too. But yeah, those two off the top of my head are ones that I get just every time I think about them, like, dang, I want to see him again, but I also really need to take some time.
How about books and horror? How many books of horror do you think you've read?
You know what? I only read the books of horror. I don't know. I only read Stephen King books and books about mathematics. I'm not much of a reader.
I see.
So, once I start a book, I can't jump around, and
definitely.
I get pretty like scatterbrained. So, Stephen King, I've kind of just decided, like, I'm going to start with this, and I've just really enjoyed his books. Yeah, so I read a lot of Stephen King. I get excited. That same thrill is when I get scared by a book, which doesn't happen very often. I can really I can really separate myself from the horror of a book. But I've just same type of deal. I just really appreciate some of the extent that he's like willing to go for his stories, and the way that he depicts a lot of his imagery is so engrossing, just very unique. And I also like that a lot of his stories are tied together in some way. They all exist in the same universe, which, we talk about Marvel and DC, but like Stephen King has his own little universe too. Who knows if he planned on doing that? It doesn't seem very planned out. It seems like he just kind of drops references to his other books and his whatnot, but sometimes he takes it in a pretty clever turn. But yeah, so I really, my favorite book of all time is The Shining. It's just great. Really enjoyed it. Similar type of deal. There's really big tragedy that happened in that book, and yeah, I really enjoy the movie of that, and I enjoy the novel as well. It's just, there's just something about it that there's so much unknown in it with The Shining that really intrigues me. So,
how is it your mind visualizes a book?
Oh, I try to. That's great. Thank you for that question. I try to see it as a movie. Like I try to.
Same.
Yeah, I try to really visualize the scene. That's why it takes me so long to read books, because I know that some books can just read. I'm like, how can you?
I'm one of those. Yeah.
I really have to sit with it for a long time, and even like right now, I'm halfway through a book that I've been working on for like 4 months, but still, like I'm still with the characters right now.
Yeah.
They still haven't left my mind, and I know that I can just go revisit them, and the time that I've spent with them subconsciously, I think, is just as important as the time that I'm with them as the story progresses. But yeah, so I try to visualize it as a film and different shots, and yeah, I try to really visualize the scenes.
So that like a very static visualization, like even if like you could touch it, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Or more like fading, like kind of gray.
I try to get as static as I can.
Mm-hmm.
There's some books where it's more helpful to keep it faded. Like The Gunslinger is one of Stephen King's books that he wrote in the late 70s. It's like nothing like he's ever written. Eventually he toned it down a little, like not toned it down, but like it's written vague. It's written so vague, and it's so beyond the stuff he was doing at that time. At that point, he had written The Shining and Carrie and The Dead Zone, which are pretty straightforward novels,
Yeah.
right? Salem's Lot. But when the Gunslinger came out, he like built this whole world that you aren't really sure what it looks like. You don't know who this Gunslinger is. You don't know what the rules are. It's very, that was one of my toughest reads, was because I'd love to revisit that again. But yeah, it was written very vaguely, but so many questions. And eventually it turned into like a 7-book series.
Oh, wow.
So he really expanded that out. But I finished that series. I spent probably 6 years reading that series. And I've only read it one time. I've only read the series once, but it took me 6 years from reading The Gunslinger in Eatonville to reading book 7, The Dark Tower, just in August.
Yeah, for me, my imagination on reads more like as a picture. If you focus on any part of it, like fades to black. You know, if you look at a keyboard, like black spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you focus on one of the spots, it's not there. It's kind of how it is.
Yeah. That like kind of optical illusion where you can see them if you aren't looking at it.
But once you focus on it, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's kinda,
that's
very
great.
dreamy for me.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about, because I don't remember a lot of my dreams, and that kind of makes me think of like when if I have a really vivid dream and I think about it too much, it kind of goes away. Yeah, interesting.
Okay, let's see. So did you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have a sister.
What is her name?
Her name's Kelsey.
How did you and Kelsey get along?
We didn't, like, she's 3 years older than me, so we don't have the biggest age gap. It felt like it when I was growing up, and so I think at the very, very beginning, she adored me. I was like the cutest little kid, right? So like 0 to 3, she loved me. And then I started getting older, and she's like, "Get this." She's like, "What? You grew up." So I don't know, like we would fight. We'd have little tiffs and whatnot, mostly over like who gets the ketchup bottle or who gets the TV remote, who gets to watch what movie. Like there was always this kind of feuds. Then she went off to college, and then I got to be at home alone for a few years, which was kind of nice. But yeah, and then she eventually became a teacher as well. She teaches music, and yeah, so like when I went to college, we didn't see each other a lot, but especially during like Thanksgiving and the holiday seasons, we'd meet and see each other. But we get along much better now.
That's good.
Yeah.
I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think stemmed most of your argument? Just age and youth?
It's mostly petty stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The biggest arguments that we've had are just mostly back when we were little, about over just petty stuff. It just seemed like, I don't know, some sort of power dynamic between the siblings.
I see.
Yeah.
So your sister, she really likes music. Mm-hmm. Do you ever play any instruments?
Yeah, I played the trombone in middle school, and that's about it. Then the stakes got, so I played trombone from, we're really getting into the hard questions here. So I played trombone in 5th grade, and 5th grade to 9th grade I played trombone, and I quit at high school because it was expected that we could actually like practice every day and read music fluently. Oh, yeah. And that for those years, I was really just winging it, and I did a pretty good job winging it, but yeah, the material started getting too much, and I wasn't willing to put in the work. Mm-hmm. That being said, my sister is a very talented musician, so she'd practice all the time, but also she's had a relationship with music that's a lot deeper. Yeah. She's an incredible artist. So I think that also, I was like, I've seen the work it takes to get that good. No. And I'm like, nah, I don't like the trombone that much, So yeah. Guess what instrument she would play?
Let's see. Obviously she plays the organ.
Okay.
No,
think about
viola?
Nope.
Flute?
Nope.
What's it called? The very large
What's the
cello.
most typical instrument
Violin.
that Mr. French could play?
Mr. French? I don't know. Drums.
Come on now. So she played the French horn.
Oh.
Yeah. So, which was pretty unique for someone to be like,
true, actually, yeah.
I want to play the French horn. Like,
Yeah.
not a lot of folks were picking that, so she was usually like the only one doing it. But yeah, she got like a scholarship to Central on it, and
Nice.
just really, and not only the French horn, she could pick up any instrument. I remember one time I was practicing the trombone, learning my scales, and she was like, "Oh, come on, you just do this," and she just picked it up, switched out the mouthpieces, and just went for it. And I was so frustrated, just like, all right, cool, neat, great, fantastic.
I'll my area.
Now
right
I'm
here.
so much better at learning my scales. Thanks, Kelsey. No, but she could do that stuff. She could kind of pick it up, learn a little bit about it, and then start. Yeah, she was a quick learner when it came to anything music.
How about your wife? Did she play or played any instruments?
Yeah, she played the.
Sorry.
No, this is gonna be so good. She played the clarinet. She played the clarinet, and I think she played through high school,
Oh.
and she went to OHS.
Huh.
Yeah, graduated here in 2009.
It's 3 years after I was born.
Yeah, yep. So she played the clarinet, and then she sings really well. She has never done it like she didn't study it or professionally, but she has a really nice voice. Yeah, that's as far as music that she's done.
So would music be a hot topic in your household?
Music?
Yeah.
It was talked about a lot. Yeah. My dad played the trombone. My mom played the flute, but none of us went as far as Kelsey, like getting like scholarships and stuff like that. And I played the drums in college. My roommate had a drum set, and I really enjoyed drum sets. It's just that you can't really have them anymore. Like,
Yeah.
Once-
It's a bit difficult.
we had a unique situation. We had a house for a year, and he had a drum set there, so I was.
Jamming out.
Yeah, and I've like looked into, even in the past year, I've looked out to like potentially getting drum lessons. Like I really enjoyed it and I miss it, but I am not able to get a drum set in my house. That would not be good for anybody.
And
But-
not baby.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Unwise.
but I'm still really, I would love to revisit the drums. I like, I carry a good beat.
I imagine you would.
Yeah.
You seem like the kind of guy.
Yeah. So that was pretty fun.
Okay. So let's move forward for your life. Mr.
Go.
French is now past high school, in college or past. How did you meet your wife?
We met through mutual friends.
Makes sense.
Yeah, met through a friend of a friend, and just hit it off. And yeah, we started talking. And remember that like the first time we met each other, we ended up talking for a long time. Everyone else was, we went out in the town in Bellingham, and yeah, we just ended up talking for the longest time. And yeah, just always. Yeah, we just had a lot of we had a lot in common. And well, I guess no, we didn't necessarily have a lot in common, but we could keep talking to each other for a long time. And that was,
How so?
I don't know, anything was open. There wasn't anything that was off. Like you could talk
No
about
boundaries,
anything,
yeah.
and we were both genuine in our conversation, and just it was nice to have somebody to talk to that listens, like genuinely listens to what you're saying, and we just hit it off really well. And so we dated for 5 years, and we've been married. This is our 4th year of marriage. So yeah,
Would you say that most people are genuine, are authentic? Or are they more closed?
depends on the person.
Well, it's an overall average, the population.
I mean, I only have my experience.
That's true.
I don't know. Like it depends on a lot of things. It depends on. I bet once people are out of high school, they're a little bit more genuine in who they are because there's less social pressures on a bunch of other stuff. It's tough to find like genuine. I don't even know what does genuine even mean. Well, even when you get out of high school, there's still folks that aren't
supposed to be very
genuine.
broad. Supposed to be from your definition, your own feeling of what genuine is.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to get your view of the world around you. So I don't want to impose my definitions.
Yeah.
I gotta share a definition of genuine.
Right.
It's like really act genuine to you. They act. I feel like they're not holding themselves really.
Yeah.
Aren't trying to be someone else around you.
I mean, it depends on the situation that you're in. I'm a very different person if I'm around my grandmother versus my friends
That's
versus
true.
you versus my wife versus my son. Like, you got to be different folks, you know?
That's true.
So it's tough to find somebody you can just be like completely genuine with, or just, I guess, genuine, like just closing off those walls. So it's nice to find somebody that you can be that around. But do I find people more genuine these days? I don't know. I'm not really sure what could influence that the most. Yeah, I try to be as genuine as I can, but at the same time, I'm a teacher here.
Yeah,
you know, like,
you have some limitations.
yeah. So I have to check myself for sure all the time. Yeah, so it just depends on your setting. As far as like, you know, I need my students to be genuine. It depends on how much they respect me. You know, I think that's a big deal. It's like, do you respect the person that you're with? Like, do you truly respect them? Because I feel like you can be more genuine and kind of you can kind of lower those barriers a lot.
Yeah.
And if there's not a lot of respect, if there's not a lot of trust, then I think it's a lot easier to be less genuine. Because, you know, you're showing a lot of yourself, and you got to trust the person. You got to respect them. And if you don't do either of those, why show them who you are?
So you mentioned respect. Respect is a very important part of relationships. For you, what are the main parts of relationship with your wife that you value? Like, what parts of the relationship do you value with her? Respect, listening, authenticity. What else?
We just trust each other. Yeah, trust. We know we got each other's back when we need it. Especially, yeah, that's a big one. She knows that I got her back. I know that she has mine, and that we're a team, and we can tackle a lot of stuff together. So, and there isn't like, you don't just get that, and if you do, you're lucky. But it seems, at least in my experience, you don't just get something like that.
Earned and made.
It has to be earned. It has to be made somehow. Like, yeah, we've really, you know, you have to go through life together for a little bit in order to really develop that trust. And, you know, yeah. So like when, you know, like I said, when my grandfather died, it was really sad. You know, it was the first like big death in my life. I've been so fortunate to have a lot of my grandparents around, but like, yeah, she was there to support me. And when her grandparents died, I was there to support her. And, you know, those are like simple examples, but just knowing that you have somebody that has your back and that you can trust at the end of the day is important.
Someone to come home to.
Yeah.
Would you say that you've changed much after meeting her?
I think so. Yeah.
In what ways?
Gosh. I think she'd probably be able to tell you more than I. That'd be a funny follow-up interview. Her, she is a substitute teacher, by the way. So if she gets, yeah. Anyway, but that was one of like, I think one of her, like when we did our vows, one of her vows I thought was really cool was like, hey, like we are going to change. Hopefully we change. We grow as people, and you know, I'll be here to support whatever Mr. French you eventually turn into in 20 years. You know, you aren't going to be the same person anymore. You might change, and I might change too, but we'll change together, and we'll still respect each other. Like we understood in the beginning of our relationship that, like, you know, when you're married it seems like when you're married for such a long time, you can't just like stay the same person all the time. So yeah, I'm sure that I've changed, and I'm sure that she's changed a lot. We've certainly learned a lot about each other since becoming parents, and yeah, it's been really fun. Exciting trip.
How did your parents wanting to say, what's your father's style or technique versus your mother's?
I don't know. It's hard to describe.
Quantify?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they did a great job. I'm not sure how to answer that because I'm not sure how to define parenting styles.
It's very broad. It's meant to be broad. Like, what do they do, let's say, when you and Kelsey were arguing? They leave it up to you to kind of work it out, and things aren't too bad to intervene?
No, it was more like timeout stuff, go to your room stuff. Yeah. I guess that's their approach, like cut it out. But they were also teachers as well. So at the end of the day, the last thing they wanted to do is like deal with more discipline issues, you know, especially with my mom. Like my mom was an elementary school teacher. So when we were younger, you know, we'd start doing the same type of stuff that she saw for the entire day. But my dad was a high school teacher. So I think he was able to, and then like the roles kind of switched a little bit. Like once we became high school, my dad was still high school. So he would, it seems like he would, once we started like becoming high schoolers, having high school problems, he was less like, all right, come on, like quit it. My mom got a little more sympathetic towards the end, but yeah, go to rooms, timeout stuff. That was how I was raised for the most part.
Now, how do you plan to raise your child?
Man, that's an ongoing question that I'm finding out every day. I do not like, I mean, the number one rule for me is I need to show him and that he understands that I love him. Like that's like that's my thesis. At the end of the day, am I making sure that he understands that truly? So that's the goal, right? That's the goal.
Yeah,
is to make sure that
ideal. Yeah.
Yeah. He needs to know that I love him. I got to keep that in mind. There's going to be I can keep asking that question. Like, am I making it clear? Is that you or me? Is that our alarm?
That's our alarm, yes.
Man,
indeed.
that was the fastest hour in such a long time.
I know.
Yeah, that's my main goal. And like, there's a lot of different ways to get there. But if I can just keep that as my vision, that's going to hopefully simplify a lot of stuff at the end. But being flexible, I think, is important as well. Showing him flexibility, treating him with respect, you know, and treating him as a human being who's starting to figure out the world. Like,
some compassion.
Compassion, yeah. He's 4 years old. Of course he's got to do something he doesn't know how to do. He's only been here for, he's probably had consciousness for like maybe a year. So like, try to give him a break as much as I can, you know? Yeah. So yeah, just being compassionate and making sure that he knows that I love him at the end of the day. Yeah.
So do you want to continue on, or you have places to be?
How much time do you have?
I have as much time as you need.
Go another 15.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. Sounds good. Okay. We'll jump into the next page.
Okay.
Teaching.
Okay.
Okay. So why did you choose to become a math teacher?
I love math.
And when is this math interest developed?
In college.
Let's see. Did you start off as a math major, or did you swap to that?
Nope. Okay, I'll give you the story.
Okay, let's hear
it. I went to Western to become a PE teacher, like my dad.
Really?
Yep.
Sure.
So my dad's a PE teacher, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and he was kind of my role model. So I was like, all right, I could become a PE teacher. That seems like a sweet gig.
It does, actually.
You know, right? I didn't know you had to take so much science classes to become a PE teacher.
Really?
Yeah, like a lot of biology, chemistry, kinesiology, and I hit this point. I remember like going to the department where I found out more about becoming a PE major and saw the classes that I have to take. And for some reason, I was kind of put off by some of the science classes. And I don't want to, what I don't like is when teachers say like, oh, I'm not a science person. No, I'm not a math person. No, I'm not an English person.
Or you're more of a math person. You're not less of a science person.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, I spent my time with mathematics, right? And I'm sure if I spent as much time in science, I could learn that as well. But yeah, I just have a hard time when folks are like, oh, I'm just not a math person. It's like, I wouldn't say that about the English language. I wouldn't say like, oh, I just can't read. Like, how is it socially acceptable? Anywho, so yeah, I went to become a PE teacher. Then there was something about the sciences that I had a tough time with, of just like, when I get down to it, like I didn't understand why things worked the way that they worked. I knew that they worked the way that they worked, but I was more curious of like, why is it doing that? And I couldn't get those answers. And I wasn't the strongest math student, even in college. But eventually, I took pre-calculus in college, 2 pre-calcs, and then a calculus course that almost did me in. And then a calculus 2 course. Just didn't, I could have stopped at pre-calc, but for some reason it just didn't feel right to not take a math class.
Yeah, I agree.
My entire career I took at least one. So I kind of just kept riding that train. I was like, all right, let's see what calculus is like. It was pretty tough. And I was like, well, let's try the next one. Let's see what else this thing has to offer. And that second calculus class blew my mind. And I got that fix of what I needed, of like, okay, I understand how this is working, and I'm also finding out really cool, interesting philosophical things. Like I'll never forget it in Arts and Hall, room 103 in the basement. Dr. Seth Knuckles was doing this. I remember this chair I was sitting in. We found the volume of this. It's called Gabriel's Trumpet. Have you heard of that?
I have.
You have?
Yeah, I've heard it in reference.
Yeah.
But could you really explain it for me?
Yeah, so it's a function that starts at 1 and goes to positive infinity. It's the function 1 over x. If you're in post right now, 1 over x. And it kind of tails off like this, kind of curves, and then you rotate that around the x-axis, and it makes a horn shape.
Ah, I see.
But it's an infinite horn. It starts at 1 and goes off to positive infinity, but it becomes like skinnier as you go. So with calculus, you can find the volume of that that mathematical figure, even with stuff like infinity. Yeah. So that's called. So eventually it was. But he showed that figure, that function where you rotate around the x-axis, that function produces a mathematical object that has a finite volume, but an infinite surface area.
Okay, that would have been neat.
Yeah, and I was like, what? That's crazy. What do you mean? He's like, well, you could fill it with paint, but you couldn't paint it. Whoa.
It's very tough to.
And we proved that the volume of it was pi. That's the volume of it. If you had a pi amount of paint, you could fill it, but you couldn't. It hasn't. And it just got me so excited. I was like, I want more of that.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That's the coolest. And, people might say like, oh, how do you use that in everyday life? I don't care.
There you go.
That's what I can use every day is this enthusiasm about something. Like to be excited about something, like that's what I could use every day. And I just got so excited and I was like, all right, I'm in. From here on out, I'm in. Let's go. Let's ride this train. If this is what it took to get to Calc 2, I'm ready to go. And then I found out that math isn't like this, where the pinnacle is calculus. It's more of like an inverted tree that just, there's all these different branches of mathematics you can keep going.
Statistics, right?
Statistics, linear algebra, number theory, geometry, complex analysis, three-dimensional stuff. Like, I don't know. It's just, there's so many different forms, combinatorics. There's so many different forms of mathematics. It just got really exciting.
Yes, it said that next year you may be teaching AP statistics, right? I
might be, yeah.
So when did you take that class in college?
Oh, I didn't take AP stats in high school at all. I had no interest in statistics. I took 2 stats courses in college, but that was like after I had taken some calc classes. Yeah. So it wasn't like an intro stats class. It was statistics with calculus. I couldn't tell you much about that class now. It's been a long time since I took that class. But my first teaching job in Eatonville, the first year I didn't teach it, but the second year, I remember during a lunch conversation they said, hey, we're thinking about offering AP statistics. Does anybody want to teach it? And for some reason, nobody said yes. And I was like, all right,
let's go for it.
I'll do it. Like, I pretty much like at the beginning of my teaching, I wanted to take as many risks, or I wanted to take like opportunities to like just see. And that was a really good choice.
Makes sense.
Those poor students, that first year teaching AP stats is very, like any AP course, it takes a while to like really.
Yeah,
and I hadn't taken like AP stats in high school. I did some trainings and whatnot, but eventually it became a big passion. I love teaching AP stats. I love teaching high school stats course as well. It's just, yeah, it's a really fun class that not a lot of students get the opportunity to be involved in, and I think it's one of the most important classes that any student can take, especially in high school. Well, because, I mean,
explains the world.
You walk down the street, nobody's going to ask you to solve a quadratic.
That's true.
Now, I do value the critical thinking skills that algebra and geometry have you employ. Yeah, like I do value that. I think because you do use those every day. Hopefully you use critical thinking skills, and if you don't, then hopefully math classes are a place that you can practice building those skills. But yeah, we are just bombarded with statistics single day, and being statistically literate is very important.
Yeah.
And it's tough to do. It's very tough to do in our world right now. So yeah, it's a really, really cool, helpful class that students are exposed to every day.
So what do you enjoy about teaching? What's like the main motivation?
Gosh. I mean, my goal, I found such an enthusiasm for mathematics that my goal was to kind of help spread that, and hopefully students find their passion in something. So my goal was to kind of show them somebody who's enthusiastic about a subject or just enthusiastic about something, so they might be able to find enthusiasm in it. But yeah, you kind of, what's the question again? It's a long day.
It's fine. What about teaching you find the most enjoyable? Like, what makes you want to get out of bed and say, I'm going to wake up at 6, 7-ish, right for you?
5.
5? There you go, same here. Get at 5, do all my stuff in the morning, come to school, do that 180 days a year, do more stuff on the weekends. What gives you the drive?
I enjoy working with my students so much. Mm-hmm. It's the students. It's just nice to be in a room full of learners. Mm-hmm. And I get to be surrounded by, first off, people, like a room full of learners, and my job is to teach them the thing I'm most passionate about doing. And so I get really excited about that. I feel like that's an honor.
Yeah.
I get to do something I'm passionate about and then like try to help make sense, try to help students make sense. And I don't like being an explainer. Mm-hmm. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like explaining math. Unfortunately, it's tough because you do have to like show people some of it, but like my ideal world is more of like a student-driven, have students discover mm-hmm. these things and kind of empower them to be like, hey, like, I don't know, there's this power dynamic. If I'm just explaining every single thing to a student, there's this power dynamic where I'm like, what's that?
They're just kids.
Right. There's just kids or like.
Not like people, they're just kids. Kids, I don't know what you just tell them not to walk across the road, on both sides.
And I don't want math to feel like that. Like, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. Like, a lot. So, I like providing. I get really excited when there's an opportunity to provide a sense of discovery in the classroom. And I get excited about thinking if students have that aha moment.
You do that quite well, actually. It's mostly because of the Desmoses. It's like you give us some problems, and then you say, well, I kind of noticed these things, solve this. I remember quite vividly when we were doing the trapezoid thing, you could cut it in half and you rotate it.
Yeah.
Same thing. I remember doing that just before you were explaining it. I'm like, haha. And there's also one time when we were at the very beginning of our last unit when we were doing how to find like something like the outside or inside angles, something like that. Mm-hmm. And the next day, going over what I learned, like 5 minutes. It was really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do a good job at that.
So I try to, when there's opportunities for students to like with that trapezoid rotation aspect, my teacher brain is like, next time I do that, I don't want to just show the students that. I'd rather make a Desmos slide that, has 4 points where they make their own trapezoid and then does the rotation and asks them like, how does this help you find the mid segment?
Oh yeah.
Just giving them a little bit less than me being like, hey, look at this thing, you rotate it, and look at that, bing bong boom. Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't that cool? Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's kind of what that lesson felt like.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to spend more time on it, creating a slide that doesn't show everything but shows students enough to like enter in to it. So that's another tough part, is like every lesson could be better. So always trying to perfect my craft is tiring and exhausting sometimes, but
worthwhile.
I'm always, I get obsessed with it too sometimes.
Okay, we're going to go to the very end of your life. Just as my English teacher had us write a poem about our beginning, middle, and end of our lives, we're fast forwarding to Mr. French at 65 years old.
Okay, cool.
There you go.
Hopefully I'm retired.
Hopefully. We'll find out. Maybe you'll be like my old teacher. like 60, like 70 or something, still teaching just because you really loved it?
Not me. I don't want to be teaching at 70, please. Not that I don't like it, but like, oh gosh.
Tiring.
Yeah, it's tiring.
Okay, start first off. What regrets would you have, do you think?
Not being as present. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure at the end of towards when I'm 65, I'll look back on this time and not as just being not as present. I fear
like your family or your work or
all
both.
of it. Yeah, just
you
making sure
live more. You could have grabbed it.
I don't know how to live any more than.
Yeah, you do. You
I'm
do
living.
Job at it.
I'm trying. No, but I don't know when people say oh, just live in the live more. I don't. I'm living right now as much as I am. That if how do I live more? Do I
look at noticing things? I think if you can more. What I'm trying to say is that some people are much more up in their heads, thinking of stuff and problems and whatnot.
That's where I'm trapped.
Yeah, same here. Same here. But occasionally I'll be walking around the lake. I live on a lake, and there's nice big trees. There's the ducks. There's the frogs chirping. The clouds are passing by, very, say, calmly.
Yeah.
It's like serene.
Yeah.
You kind of get lost in the moment. I have to say that the flow state one could say.
Yeah. I heard a piece of advice one time that really kind of hone down and become present. It's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mm-hmm. So if you ever find yourself in your head a lot and wishing man, I wish I was in the present right now. Just stop what you're doing. Pick out 5 things that you see, 4 things that you hear, 3 things that you can touch, 2 things that you smell, and 1 thing that you taste.
Ah, I see.
So engaging your senses, and it kind of grounds you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've tried that technique.
It sounds like it would work.
Yeah.
But I mean with my head is I will more I can just stand or sit for a few, half an hour or an hour or more, just thinking about some idea and just following its logical consequences or what connects to it.
Yeah.
So I should forget living in the moment. What I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I'm very much engaged with what I'm doing.
Which is tough to do.
Enthusiastic like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So your guess would be not living as much. How do you think a typical Mr. French day would go at his ripe old age of 65?
Oh man. I don't know. I don't know where ripe old age of 65, have a morning cup of coffee. Go for a walk. Try to hopefully keep my walking going. Hopefully I'm walking a lot if I'm retired. I'd love to keep walking.
Very nice.
Let's do a podcast. Yeah. Man. I like golfing. I do like golfing. So it'd be cool if I could still golf. I'm sure I could still golf at that time.
I think so. Most golfers are in their older age.
Yeah. I golfed in high school, so I've been able to keep that going.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a nice sport. Environmentally not good. So
True.
So I don't know. Maybe golf isn't going to be a thing anymore at 65. It'd be kind of interesting to see how that kind of evolves.
Let's see how it plays out.
65. Man, I went for a walk. I golfed. Spent some time with my wife. Maybe go get breakfast somewhere.
Yeah, that was a really nice day.
Yeah, walk the dog. We'll probably have a different dog by then. Sorry, Ramsey. Call Hayden, my son. Check in, make sure he's doing okay. Hope maybe cross my fingers if he calls me. Yeah. I'm sure at 65 I'd get less calls from him then. But
not busy doing your own thing.
Yeah.
A very nice time.
Yeah, just a low-key day. I don't have that's a nice calm day. If I can go on a walk, play some golf, walk with my wife.
Enjoy the benefits of your hard work.
Yeah.
Reap what you sow. Think you've accomplished your grand dreams by then, or whether those may be, however small they may be, relative to others?
My grandest dreams, I think I'm lucky enough to. I have a lot of them right now, man.
Like what?
I mean, I don't know. I had a lot of goals and I got a lot of them, or I was able to achieve them. So I don't know. For me, it was getting a full-time job as a teacher. I got that. And one of my goals was to get to Olympia High School.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I started teaching at Eatonville and got to know this is kind of funny, but I actually met Mr. Schaefer my second year teaching at Eatonville because he was the Knowledge Bowl coach for Olympia. And I'd coached Knowledge Bowl at Eatonville for actually, this is my third year. But I saw Olympia's team, and I was like, Olympia High School has got it going on. Like, they have an amazing Knowledge Bowl team. So, I don't know, Olympia was just kind of like, get there.
Top the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I went to Stillicum, and then eventually, so I got to Olympia like professionally. This was kind of my goal to get here eventually. I'm not really sure where to go next, but not that I want to.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm pretty happy where I'm at.
On the right pond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, becoming a father and a husband, and got a dog. I don't know. It's like pretty simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in a very most simple of questions, what memories would you look back upon before you die?
Anything with my son and my wife.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything. So I can't tell you what specifically it would be, but I just know that they'll be there. Yeah. That's deep, man. But anything with my family be great.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how about a less deep question? What book and movie would you want to watch if I read or watch one more book or movie?
I would like my last one.
Yeah.
Okay, my last movie I'd like to watch is Caddyshack.
Caddyshack.
Yeah.
What's that about?
It just makes me laugh every time I see it. It's just it's very quotable. I really enjoy it. It's my favorite movie of all time.
I'll remember this. I remember this.
What's that?
I will remember this. I have a list of movies,
Uh-huh.
like quotes and books and whatnot.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I really enjoy that movie. It's so much fun. And then a book. I don't know if it's the last book I'm reading. Hopefully, it's one of King's longest ones. Stall it a little bit.
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah, I'd say. I don't know. I'd probably say The Shining. It's not his longest one. I could have picked Under the Dome or The Stand or
Yeah,
It.
that's true. Yeah.
I really connect with The Shining a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think that is? Your connection to The Shining.
I just get fascinated by the differences between the novel to the movie.
Ah, I see. Okay.
I'm just really fascinated with like
two views of it.
Yeah, two different views of the same story. And King's I think should. I don't know. I kind of put more precedent on King's vision.
Makes more sense. Yeah.
But when Kubrick did the film, he made it very clear that he really made it his own. It's really very, very different piece of work, and so I just get fascinated on. Yeah, I get fascinated on like where, like the relationship between these two things, because they made both of them together are such influential pieces of work in popular culture. It has clearly hit something with us, especially the movie brought it to a grander scale. But even, I don't know. And then the sequel to it, Dr. Sleep, did an amazing job of giving honor to both the separate entity of the film and the book. It had such a hard task to be the sequel to The Shining. If you ever read Dr. Sleep, just how do you give credit to two pieces of such different content? And it did such a good job of paying homage to both continuously the entire time.
Okay, last question.
Yeah, there we go.
Time's running out. If you have one day to live, what would you do? Current Mr. French here, not 65.
What would I do?
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully I go for a long walk with my wife, and we have a nice conversation, a cup of coffee. I get to see Hayden, get to hang out with him.
Yeah.
Get to spend time with him. I don't know so anything like that. I don't want to watch a movie.
Yeah.
Because you don't really do much when you watch a movie. You just sit there and watch it. Go out for breakfast. just spend some quality family time. Mm-hmm. I think that's really kind of boils down to like what would be very nice. These are like, I don't know. Just spend time with my family would be the best thing. Which
I do agree.
Which I'm very excited to. Yeah. So. Yeah, you got me pumped up. I'm going to go home here in a second, and you got me really excited to go spend some more time with him.
Now, I do have one suggestion.
Okay.
Find like a dock on a lake.
Okay.
Get your book.
Okay.
And then get like a flashlight. Wait till the moon is out and the stars, and the sun's kind of setting, and read that book.
Okay.
The most glorious feeling.
Okay.
This calm serenity.
Try to do that in the summer.
It's very nice. Actually, no. It works in the winter as well.
Ooh, I'd be so cold.
Well, I did this yesterday, so it's Saturday. So there you go.
That doesn't. I'm still not gonna do it. Well, I did it yesterday. Well, I'll try it maybe during the summer.
I'm skinny. Cold. Skinniness kind of makes me colder. I'm sure you'll be fine.
I'll give it a shot in the summer.
Okay.
I want to be comfy.
Sounds good.
Gotta be comfy.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Good fun. That's all. Yeah, thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks, Miles.
I'll see you tomorrow.
This has been great. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for giving me this opportunity.
My pleasure.
All right.
And bye.